everybody, it's Chris B once again from CSB Security Inc. with yet another informational video. Today we're going to talk about the top 5 things you should know and keep in the back of your mind when choosing a security integrator to install your security systems to be ACMPR and Cannabis Act compliant. Before we move forward, a little bit of a disclaimer. What I'm about to tell you is based on my experience in the past 5 years in this industry. It's based on over 300 applications, over 100 site visits, over 50 attestations, dealing with almost every large installer or even medium installer across the nation. It is based on my opinion and my experiences, and obviously your experience and opinions may vary. So let's dive right in. I'm going to give you a top 5 things that you need to be mindful of and keep in the back of your mind when choosing your next security system installer. Number 1 on the list is Canadian representation. What I mean by that is because the ACMPR and Cannabis Act is heavily Canadian based, it is a Canadian regulation, we want to make sure that you have Canadian representation of the integrator that you want to hire. So in other words, you don't want the integrator that you hired to be based out of Florida, let's say. They may be fantastic, they may be the best integrator possible, but it may also cause them to have to travel to your site and add in travel costs. Maybe if you want a sales representative to come by your site because you want to talk about an expansion and they say, I'll be there next week, but I have to fly in and sorry, my flight was delayed and therefore I can't make it out for another week. You never know what it could be. So when I say Canadian representation, I mean local. Find an integrator whenever you're entertaining proposals. Take a look to see where they're from. Look to see where their project manager is from. Are they in the area? Are they within the city? Are they within the province? Are they easily accessible? And if they are from the States, see how long it's going to take them to come out. It's not to say that any integrators in the States aren't fantastic. I know of many. They are very, very well versed in what they do. However, if they're based out of Texas and you're based out of Montreal, it may take them 6 hours to fly to your site just to do a site visit. Even though they may not charge you for this, it's still 6 hours that you have to wait around. Whereas if you hired somebody local that was within the area, within the city, within the province, within the next province, it's a little bit quicker for them to come out, and there's a little bit more accountability because you know they're around the corner. So Canadian representation is big, especially under the ACMPR and Cannabis Act when entertaining bids and proposals from integrators. Again, it's not to say that our friends across the border aren't fantastic. Maybe if you get somebody based out of New York, but you're based out of Quebec, that's pretty quick. Maybe there's an integrator that's based out of Buffalo, New York, and you happen to be in Niagara Falls. Well, that's not so bad. It's just cross-border. The point is, make sure there's Canadian representation, no matter where the company is based out of, that's easily accessible to you. Number 2 on our list is the proper scope. And what I mean by that is, obviously, if you're going to obtain proposals on your own, if you're going to entertain bids, if you've already got 5 or 6 integrators that you want to release information to obtain a proper and competitive bid, you're going to want to tell them what it is they're bidding on. And we call this a scope of work. Some of our clients just issue them a floor plan and they say, okay, integrator, you tell us what we need. You give us a price on installing a system that's compliant with the ACMPR, that's compliant with the Cannabis Act, that has best security practices in mind, value engineering, is not too expensive, you name it. But you go ahead and tell us what it's going to take. That's option 1. Option 2, sometimes our clients will basically say, this is exactly what I want you to do. I want you to give me a price on XYZ, ABC. We have already done our research. We know exactly what we want. Therefore, give us a price. And so what ends up happening is sometimes the scope of work may not be as encompassing as a client thinks they are. Or maybe a client believes that they've got everything all in order, they've dotted all their I's, crossed all their T's, but didn't realize there was this other thing that they should have put in that maybe an integrator realizes but didn't tell you. So the point is, scope of work is huge. If you want to hire a proper installer to install your system, you got to tell them exactly what it is you want, or let them know the gray areas that you don't know. Maybe say to them, listen, I want to entertain proposals. Here's my security system design done by a professional consultant. You tell me how much it's going to cost to install it based on their direction. Maybe you want to hire a consultant that will cover this whole thing for you, create the tender documents, give the instructions to the bidders, review the bids, whatever the case may be. Sometimes our clients end up blaming the integrator. They may end up blaming them to say, whoa, my gosh, your price is so huge. It's $900,000. That's just unreal. But maybe you didn't take a look at what you didn't tell them. Maybe they had to make a lot of assumptions because they weren't sure exactly what you were looking at. Maybe they nominated the higher end equipment that they could find, the highest they could possibly find, because they weren't sure exactly what other people were going to nominate. Maybe some gave you over-the-counter stuff, which I talk about at another point. Maybe they just gave you stuff that you can buy at Best Buy, whereas other integrators that have experience gave you something that was more higher end. Scope of work is huge. Canadian representation, number 1. Scope of work, number 2. Number 3 on our list is price. Price is a pretty big thing. It is difficult to nail down, especially if you ask bidders to give you a bid based on gray information, maybe lack of information, maybe lack of understanding. But I can tell you for sure, the lowest price is not always the best solution. I would ask yourself a question. If you got and entertained proposals from 5 integrators, and they all looked fantastic, you did your research, they've got experience, they've got Canadian representation, whatever, and you notice that 2 are really low, 2 are medium, and 1 is extremely high. 1 or 2 are extremely high. You got to take the lows and the highs and go, well, why is that? Why is there such a gap in between these quotes? Is it something that I missed? Is there something that they know that I don't know? Is there something you're nominating that they don't realize they don't have to? And so sometimes our clients say, well, we want to spend as little money as possible. Therefore, Chris, thank you for your opinion. We understand the mid-range is who you're nominating. We want to go with the lowest. And I always say, well, be careful, because you need me to take a look at why they're the lowest. What are they missing? What didn't they add? What didn't you tell them? What are they nominating that you may not want? So I can tell you for sure, the lowest price is not always the best. But also, neither is the highest. You don't necessarily want the highest possible, because that's not really value engineering. That's more spending a lot of money for something you may not need. Of course, it may be awesome. It may be the best system ever built. But do you actually need it for compliance? The answer is probably no. So number 4 on the list, or number 3 on the list rather, is price. Number 4 on the list is solutions. And that is heavily weighed upon price. So in other words, you may get a fantastic price. You may get a lowest bid, and it may look fantastic, but then when you see the type of solutions that are being nominated, you realize, I don't know if I really want to buy this stuff. Is it high quality? Is it even medium quality? And so even though the price is low, the quality of what's being supplied may be low. That does not to say that the medium quote that you got is giving you higher end equipment. It's not to say that they're giving you lower end. It's just to say one thing that affects price is quality. So when you look at the proposals, you want to make sure the quality of product that you're getting matches the price. Here's one way you can do a little bit of research to find out if what you're getting is a good value. Let's say, for instance, you take the lowest bid. And of course, in your proposals or in your instruction documents to these integrators to give you a proposal, you told them you want line item pricing. That's a big one. You want them to let you know exactly what it is they're supplying. So in other words, manufacturer names. And of course, model numbers. So what you can do is you can take a manufacturer name or a model number, you can put it into Google and search for it. If you find out that you can go down the street to your local Best Buy, or maybe a hardware store, maybe a computer store, and you can hand the guy across the counter or the lady across the counter $5,000 to get the system, there's a good chance it's probably not of high enough caliber for an ACMPR and Cannabis Act facility. Higher security is needed for ACMPR and Cannabis Act. You don't necessarily want a system you can buy over the counter. Maybe people can hack into it at home. Maybe you can take it apart. Maybe it's got plastic parts in it. Whatever the case may be, if it's sold over the counter and doesn't require certification or specialization in how to install it and configure it, there's a good chance it's a cheaper system, and that's probably why that one bid that was really low came in so low. Maybe that's why the highest bid you got was so out there that you didn't understand why it was so high. When you look at the quality of product that they're submitting, it's awesome. It'll do exactly what it is you need, plus some. That's a fine balance that you're going to have to come to. Just know, lowest compliant bid isn't always the best. There's a good chance that the quality of product that they are nominating is not as high as you want it to be. So, do some research. Take a look at the quotes and the proposals. See the type of devices that are being nominated. Look it up on Google. Ask other integrators. Ask around. Maybe some lawyers, maybe some consultants out there that you can task. You can call us and say, Chris, could you please review these bids? I want to find out if the lowest is my best choice. Maybe the medium is the best. Tell me why I should or shouldn't go with the highest or the lowest. Number 5 on our list is simply experience. And I know it's tough. Experience is one of those things that it's hard to prove. And if you're doing this on your own and you're entertaining proposals on your own, experience is sometimes the only thing you have to go by. It is a huge thing in this industry, but it's the one thing you can't really prove. And the reason being is that I highly doubt that you may be in good graces with your competitor down the street. So in other words, there could be a massive LP that's down the street from you. I'm not so sure you'd be able to call them up and just say, hey, by the way, what security systems do you use? Oh, is this integrator any good? Oh, by the way, this guy said that he did awesome for you and got you licensed in under 3 weeks. Is that true? If they give you that information, that is awesome. That is fantastic. That is a good friend to have. Most will probably sit there and go, I'm not telling you anything. You're a competitor. Why would I tell you this stuff? The point being is that you have an integrator that says, we've done 30 of these before. How do you prove it? Do you call all 30 and say, apparently this company has installed stuff for you, so is it true? Probably not. So sometimes experience, even though it may seem like key, unless you talk to a proper consultant, unless you talk to somebody that knows a lot of integrators out there, experience may not be the one thing you need to look into, or the sole thing you need to get the warm and fuzzies about hiring an integrator. So yes, experience plays a key. The trick is knowing who to task with reviewing that experience. Knowing who you can go out to say, is this true? You can come to us. Many of our clients come to us and say, Chris, I've got a bunch of proposals. I did this on my own. I got a bunch of proposals. Can you review and let me know what you think? Oh, and by the way, this one integrator I was told from a friend of mine is really awesome, and they do this across the nation, and their name is XYZ. You can certainly do so. Why? Because I've worked on 100 of these, 50 videos, 300 applications. I've seen a lot of integrators, both good, bad, and ugly. The point being is experience is key, yes, but not everything. In the top 5 list, that would be the last thing that you should look at. Because let's face it, if there's an integrator out there that knows their stuff, that knows the compliance, that nominates really good high-end equipment, is reasonably priced, but they don't have any experience, does that mean they can't install it properly? Absolutely not. Especially if you have a consultant in your corner. Especially if you have somebody like us who can sit there and say, okay, you want to award to whatever consultant or whatever contractor you want, that's fine. Maybe they're a friend of the family. I don't know. Maybe they're local down the street and you looked them up on Google and said, hey, you want to come install something for us? We can certainly help out because we can be there in the background to say, watch out for this, watch out for that, watch out for this. So experience is good. It's not everything, but it is included in our top 5 things you should watch out for. So, I hope this has been informative. By all means, send us an email with your questions. We are here to help. Other consultants that are quite good at this can also help you. Avoid listening to the integrators solely. They mean the best. They have the best intentions in mind. But I can honestly say in my experience, and all the systems that I've designed, had installed, had managed the installation, all the licenses that I've able to obtain for clients, there's only ever been 3 integrators across the nation that have really got it done right, and they did it well. Other integrators never got it done right the first time, or there was a lot of things that I had to get on the phone with and instruct them, or they just plain and simply failed at it and it didn't do so well. The point is, try not to rely too much on the integrators and their sales and their information that they try to tell you. It doesn't mean that those 20 that they worked on were done right, were done well, were done proper, were done in a way that Health Canada liked, or the fact that they're not fighting them still to get a license. Feel free to follow us. We do a lot of informative videos. We answer a lot of questions from our clients. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.